We're gonna talk about some things.
I also have a tub of my protein treat cookie dough here. So it's conversations with cookie dough.
There's they're delicious. You can turn them into balls. You can also just eat them like food. Yeah, so good. I have been thinking about these all morning, really. And I was like, need some protein,
I had a sense.
some chili treats. Okay. But we are going to talk.
Yes. Where do you want to start?
Okay. We're going to start with ahimsa, which is a concept that I've learned in yoga. It's a concept is ancient, way far beyond now. But it means nonviolence. And I've just been thinking a lot about, do I talk to you or do I talk to both? I've been thinking a lot about how, for me, my mental health shifted when I started practicing ahimsa towards myself. So I was always like praying for peace and love for others, but then to myself would just be like, you suck, you're worthless, whatever. And then, 10 years in was teaching or in a yoga therapy class, and she started teaching about ahimsa. And I was like, oh, I don't want to do endless downward dogs because my neck and shoulder are all fucked up. And I stopped doing them and just watched and observed and was present with myself and my own insanity in my head. I was like, fuck, there's a lot of pain in here, Yeah. And just started having that lens of love and kindness towards myself. And I think that having that and then taking action in the world is important because otherwise.
Yeah. And we've been talking a lot about just the state of the world right now. And we're both people I think aren't traditionally political, but we care about humans and we care about nonviolence and kindness and figuring out where our place is in all of that. Also, as moms with toddlers and 2 kids for you, 1 for me. And where's our place coming from that? Since that really is like what we both stand for. Like, I know even as a little kid, if kids fought in the playground, I would cry.
Yeah.
And it had nothing to do with me. Like, I just do not believe in that as an answer. I've always struggled with the concept of war because I think there has to be a better way.
Yeah.
And right now we're just watching a lot of violence towards a lot of people in our country and wondering.
A lot of separation. And that's triggering that mom empathy and seeing kids in war zones, seeing the immigration and the separation. It's fucking heartbreaking.
Yeah. And the separation of families has been one of my most upsetting things to see. To just even imagine that happening.
Yep. Same.
And so we have, just constantly been asking, what could we do, and finding small actions until we know what the bigger action is.
So our small actions that are also like, I just want to say also, my therapist at one point was like, it doesn't have to be all or nothing. I'm like,
yeah,
it's an interesting concept. However,
that was my biggest lesson in therapy too. They're like, Julia.
But as soon as we learned about diversity, equity, and inclusion being taken away, we were like, okay, we're not going to shop at Amazon. We're not going to shop at Target. We're going to shop locally, which is kind of extreme. Just saying.
But it's been actually amazing for me. But I know, I think.
And Whole Foods. I'm sorry. Whole Foods is so hard.
Whole Foods has been hard. I haven't shopped at any of those. But I also, again, because I know I can't tend to be an all or nothing person. Like I'm like, if I happen to need to go to those places for something for my kid, I'll have grace. It's just, making conscious choices every day. We are lucky to live in a really diverse neighborhood, a lot of Mexican-owned businesses. So trying to support those as much as possible. Just little acts, I've been trying to raise money for Kind, which has helps get lawyers for kids who have to defend themselves in court, which is absolutely ludicrous. We're talking about kids our age, toddlers, representing themselves in court. So trying to help just in every little way we can. I love how you made your protest signs the other day.
My daughter's 2, and I made her a sign that said, "My body, my choice." So cute. Yeah. My son, he drew peacocks, and I loved it because he had all the eyes of the peacock feathers, and he was like, "I'm gonna hold this." And I was like, "Yeah." I was like, "We're watching, these little babies. They're watching. They're seeing."
Yeah, there's just so much division right now. And I always want to see everyone's side, but it is hard when I feel like human rights are being affected, that's when I'm having trouble even understanding the other side, although I understand everyone's receiving different information, watching different news channels. But I've always thought that human rights first. And if someone is made to be voiceless, you have to talk louder for them
Yep.
and use your privilege in that way. We're both very privileged
Yep.
because of our skin color and speaking English and so many things. And so, how do we use that? And I want to be super clear that I'm not doing that perfectly, and I want to do and be better. And I'm seeking those ways of minimal sleep sometimes,
Yeah.
and working and caring for a family, and trying to raise a good man as well.
They're watching. Like, those little kids are watching. No pressure, no pressure to be perfect and do it all the right way. I'm noticing that I wanna be engaged and pay attention, and then also if I pay too much attention, I'm no good to anybody. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm not good to my kids, I can't show up for them because 'cause I'm like, "No, I'm, like, in the land of people being stolen and just taken." Like, the thing I just saw the other day was about, um it was this man, it was a bounty hunter. Did you see this?
No.
He was talking in a court. So my sister-in-law posted this, and she's been going to protests, and anyways, she posted it, and I trust her as a source. And he is talking, and he's saying they're gonna pay thousands of dollars for them to hunt illegals and then give them to ICE. And then my whole body just reacted and like shut down. And I'm like, okay, well, you're not going to help anybody by shutting down, you know? But at the same time, like, you don't have a human reaction to that.
Yeah, no, that's
Like,
a terrifying
it's
truth. Yeah, I
terrifying.
feel that in my bones.
Yes. And so, I don't know what to do with that. I just know that it's something that is, it's, you see what's happening now, and then you see what's coming. And you're like, okay, how do we stay informed
Mhm.
and also stay grounded? So then and then I went on and created all try to show you, posts for representatives and senators to contact in our local areas. So I keep coming back to local.
Mm.
I can't do anything about what's far away.
Yeah.
But locally, we can write to our senators, we can write to our representatives, we can, you know, support local businesses.
Yep. I think finding your strengths, like I know I have a strong local voice, so I've been trying to speak up about it as much as I can. And it's the little things. I have a friend who's so not into politics, and she finally started, really reacting to what's happening with immigrants after me constantly plowing down on the subject. Because I mean, there's so much. And I think we're purposely being drowned with fear and information right now. So staying steady, getting your sleep, eating regularly, finding ways to just keep on going, and then small acts of kindness, small acts of help in doses that you can keep going on. And that's hard as an all or nothing person. I know in the
Mhm.
pandemic, I was like borderline manic because I just wanted to help everything. Like I was evacuated
Yeah.
from the fires, and I was working, helping feed people and get people clothed and help people who were evacuated. And then they're like, wait, you were evacuated? What are you doing here? But that's just how I deal with things. I just genuinely want to help, but I know I can take it too far and then burn out too.
Mhm.
So finding that balance somehow, which there's never a perfect balance in
No.
motherhood. I always say like every week is different, and you just do your best and assess what's working, what's not working.
Yeah, and I found today I was like, "Wait, I need a list that says my kinda like go to get out of the fear and get back into your body." I'm like listening to songs that are uplifting and just shaking it out of my body 'cause it's, staying in that panicked state
Yeah.
just makes me not wanna eat and,
Yeah.
like, revert to old patterns that are unhealthy, and then I'm like, "Okay, you're about to go down a slippery slope that is not helpful to anybody."
Yeah.
So, unplug for a second, feed yourself,
That's a big one.
dance, yeah, stay
Yeah.
hydrated, like, it's basic. It's, like, basic. Why are the basics
So
so
hard.
fucking hard,
So hard.
you know? When there's these huge things happening too, but it's,
And
like, those
human connection
basics.
too.
Yeah,
It's a big one.
we need it.
talking to people who feel similarly to you. I always call Wendy, who's a local supervisor and friend of ours, and I'm like, what do I do? And she'll be like, join this thing, join that, join this. I'm like, okay, follow.
She just told me about an app. It's called Calls,
Oh,
5 Calls app. It's a little overwhelming to me, but there's numbers to senators and representatives in there. And it shows like the top issues. So you can click on it and then they'll give you a script and you can call and just say it. I like using a chatbot right now and just being like, can you write me a letter for this?
it's a senior or something like that.
And then tell me where to send it and it'll give me the link. And then it takes like 5 minutes.
Perfect.
So 5 calls or 5 minutes on a chatbot.
Every little thing hopefully counts. And we were also talking about a kind of weird personal emotional reaction to what's happening, and that we've both dealt with extreme narcissists in the past. And I do feel like that's kind of what's leading the country right now is narcissism. And if you don't know, that is to act without empathy. And it's all about winning and power and
Not feeling guilt
no
or
guilt,
shame.
no remorse. And I feel like that's what we're seeing on
And
a
it's
major
masked with so
scale.
much confidence. Like they are the most confident. They know everything. You're
Very
below them.
convincing. And the gift of the narcissist, when I was healing from narcissistic abuse, for me, it was working through my own issues. What in me allowed this? And what I feel like we're seeing right now is the unveiling of all this stuff that we thought we had dealt with as a country that we haven't. It's still extremely racist and sexist and backwards in so many ways. If this many people are agreeing with him,
Mm-hmm.
I don't even want to say his name.
It's fine. We know who him is.
If so many people are going along with that, that means that's been there all along. He's just unveiling it
Mm-hmm.
and encouraging it and magnifying it. So our job is to heal collectively and work on those things collectively. Otherwise, it doesn't matter if it's him or someone else, it's still there.
Mm-hmm.
And again, it's like I don't have the perfect answers, but I know from my experience the healing aspect, the kindness towards myself, the hymns like you're talking about, and showing that to as many people as we can. And even when I speak out, again, I try not to be political. I try not to say, you're bad, you're dumb, you're that, you're that. I try to just speak up about, I try to speak through love. So I talk about how much I love and respect immigrants. I talk about how much I love and respect women, like to lead from a place of love, because that's really where I'm coming from. And I don't want to keep creating more segregation and
Division.
division,
Mm-hmm.
but to celebrate the good.
Yeah. Yeah. I agree. I don't talk about it a lot except to you in private. And I'm like, let's do it live on Substack.
Because the silence is deafening, though.
It is. And it will take me back to a very depressive place, depressed place. And I'm not willing to go back there.
And when with silence, and I felt like the same with dealing with, an abuser, a narcissistic abuser, the silence is riddled with guilt and shame. So when we don't talk about something, there's a lot of negative emotions that come with that. And so I do think finding your people you can talk with, whether it's online or in person, and connecting and having those tough conversations is so important. And you do have to judge your own safety on things. If you're in a position where you don't feel safe, I don't think force yourself. You'd have to figure out your own boundaries within that. I'm an immigrant, so I have to be a little careful.
Yeah.
Because there is some fear around, like I'm a green card holder, but still like it's scary. And there are people who are a lot more scared than I am. So I never want to say everyone has to do this, and this because I'm doing that. It's not that way. You have to find what is right for you and how to speak from your truth.
I can connect this. Did you see the thing on Instagram? I can't remember her name, but I have a link and she talks about, frontline responders and people who are out in the protests and like being active. Do you see this post?
No.
And she talks about weavers and connectors and healers. And there's all these people who are doing their work and what works for them. And I think a lot of us have multiple things, but that helped me be like, okay, you're not always going to be with little babies on the front lines and with dealing with what you have. you're not gonna, you know,
Yeah.
safety. You want to keep yourself safe too.
Yeah.
But there's so much that can be done, and finding those little things. I also just listened to Shannon Watts this morning. She's the woman who created Moms Demand Action. Have you heard of this?
No.
So Moms Demand Action, she came about when is this Sandy Brooks? It was Sandy Brooks, right?
Mhm.
With the kids
Mhm.
that were shot in the elementary school. She got upset, and she even says, she's like, it shouldn't have taken a bunch of white kids dying for me to get involved by gun violence. It's been happening in our country forever. So,
Yeah.
but it's what got her involved. She got into politics. She helps other women get into politics. But she just wrote a book called Fired Up. I know. I'm excited. I want to get it. And she said one thing in it, I guess, that some women or people are taking away is they're doing bonfires together. I know. I was like, I want to do bonfires. And just kind of bringing that, so they're not doing it in a political space, but they're doing it just in community to come together. And I feel like that. I'm like, what is it that we can do that's not like we have to read a book and we have to do this and blah blah blah, but just, I mean, you know, you have a fire pit, so we don't even need to build a fire. We just turn it on, sit around it, and then talk.
Well, and yeah, I think community is always what I find the
That's what I keep going
most
to.
powerful. I always think community is immunity, and I found that in the pandemic too. And just joining as many groups of people. Back then we did workouts in the park, all these different things. We've been playing around with doing some park gatherings too. But yeah, the more we get together, because especially now we're all in these little online worlds, so we're getting funneled so much news, so much information, and we're not having that human connection to work through those things, to talk about it, to think about action.
Yeah. No, you're reminding me. During the pandemic, I had my son's 5, so he was born 3 months before the pandemic, and we were very isolated the whole time. Actually, started writing a book called Mom Life about it, and I'm finishing it this year, hopefully this year. But I remember seeing all your Give Your Best stuff back then. I bought your sweater, and I was like, "What is she doing? I like all of this. Like whatever's happening." That's when I started reaching out to you. Remember? Because you were posting about Black Lives Matter, and
I posted a lot, and I actually got some scary threats and stuff as well. So I still, when I post anything, my heart rate speeds up and I get a little anxious because I got told everything from go back to your country to F off, blah, blah, blah. And then one guy even tagged all these really scary people with guns. And yeah, and I was like, oh my God. So I do have a nervousness in speaking up, and we both talk about confidence too, and still working on building our confidence because that's a part of it. Yeah, and always scared to say the wrong thing or offend people, but the voices of the kind and sensitive are so needed, and that's what I always tell my clients. I put myself out there a lot, but I'm an introvert and I'm shy, but I think more of us are the ones whose voices are needed because it's the people like what we're seeing right now running off blind confidence who tend to take the lead because everyone goes, oh, well, they know what they're talking about, but they don't really.
Yep. It's true. It's true. So I'm inspired by Glennon Doyle because she's so introverted and yet she's just this leading light force in the world. So I'm like, all right. And then you too. I'm like, okay, Jillian's out there. She's saying things. I can say things.
We can say hard things.
I can do things that make you want to throw up. Well, fine. Your hands shake and your armpits sweat. It's fine.
Yeah, and it's that boundary balance too. And I always try and touch in, because people ask me too, like when you share my personal stories and stuff with mental health, and they're like, how do you feel comfortable? How do I start doing that? And I say, you have to find your own boundaries with that. If there's something that you don't feel safe talking about, you don't have to. Yeah. If there's something that feels really important and powerful to you, which has always been the case for me, talking about mental health or eating disorders, all these things, and sharing my stories, there's always been a balance of people saying mean things. And then there's always these voices that come through saying, thank you, I feel seen. I've never heard anyone talk about this, and that makes it worth it. And there's this gut feeling when I'm going to talk about something usually, where I'm like, oh, I need to talk about this.
Yeah.
And with what's everything going on right now, for me, it's been immigration because I've been through the immigration process and I've been raised and loved by immigrants, I always say, because I truly have my whole life. And that is when I'm like, okay, my gut is telling you this is something to talk about. And it doesn't mean that everything else isn't equally as important, but that's hitting me in a really gut focused place.
Mhm. Yeah, the other organization that I've come across it or we've come across is the Florence Project, and they're helping support kids who are in courts who are unrepresented now because the federal funds were taken away. Um, yeah, and I'm trying to find one locally. I still haven't. I did reach out.
I keep looking too.
Yeah,
Someone sent me something and I tried to find a local one, but it was all like Greenfield and
yeah.
Soda. But Kind is a really good one too, Kind, that I've been trying to support. But yeah, locally it's
I know NPC at the college does like they have a lot of support there,
Mhm.
but I'm not exactly sure what. But that was one thing that popped up, and then I'm Santa Cruz. I can't remember what they're called, but
Keep looking.
yeah, I know. I'm like, keep looking. I actually called them and be like, "Can you connect me? Can you help me?" Because I just keep going down rabbit holes, and I'm like, "This is not a good use of my time and energy."
No, and that's where I'm always like, I am so bad with, any form of paperwork or calling and stuff like that. I know that's not my strength.
Mhm.
But I know having a voice is, I know sharing online things are, I know raising money is. So I'm always like, okay, how do I use the things I'm good at in my very little time that matter? What can I
Mhm.
organize? What can I do that's, creative and more leadership based? Because that's how I run as a person. And I think that's important to account for too.
Mhm. Yeah. That's what having someone be like, "Oh, we're gonna do a event together. Can you do this?" I'm like, "Yes. I can make a flyer, or I can send things out and tell people about it, and I can talk about it." I'm good at that.
You've been
And I
doing that
can
for
write.
that event. You're doing a Juneteenth event next
Yeah.
week, and you've been organizing, which is awesome.
Yeah. And making flyers and things, which is fun for me when they're not for my own business, which I don't like as much. Um, yeah. Okay, do we talk about all the things that we wanted to talk about today?
What else?
Confidence. Confidence. Should we say more about confidence?
I don't know.
I think also just, yeah, I mean, I spent my 20s I spent all my 20s in a relationship where the other person sort of had more control over me and kind of their opinion of me is what mattered more than my own opinion of myself. And so I spent my 30s trying to figure out what confidence actually is. And I've seen a lot of egotistical, false confidence.
Yeah.
And like, yeah,
Can I share my recent trick?
yes. It is it.
So now when I'm catching myself worrying about what people are thinking about me or, oh, I said this or what are they going to think or am I cringy or whatever it is, I just tell myself, stop being so obsessed with yourself because no one cares.
Nobody cares.
Like,
It's
even
true.
if someone watches this and is like, that goes dumb, whatever. You're not going to think about me for the rest of your life. You're going to
Right.
then move on and worry about your own stuff. So I need to stop being so obsessed with myself and just keep living, man. Not getting younger.
It's true. You're like, I don't have time for all this. It's a
No.
waste of your energy.
That's the nice part about getting older.
Yeah. It's
So I'm
true.
like,
You start
40s
getting
next year.
wrinkles. You're like, it's fine. Who fucking cares?
Just gotta speak about what you care about, take care of the people you care about, and live your life. So I liked that point because no, I worked a long time through therapy. I realized I have what they call other esteem. So I was always looking for confidence through other people and their perception of me. And it was really hard to let go of because I always did things too, like I was competing. And if I won first place, everyone made me feel really good. If I started a business, and I put myself out there, the more like I showed off what I've done, the more celebrated I was.
Yeah.
And so to go into therapy and have them tell me that's unhealthy, I was like, but when you're healthy and just confident and not doing a lot, no one's cheering you on.
No one's noticing.
No one's saying great things about you. And I had to learn that that was okay too. And that's why I am actually a little quieter now and I do a little less now in a purposeful way because I have to think what really matters. I have to really, really dig deep. What really matters to me? Why am I doing this?
And not feed the beast of
Yeah.
of recognition
And it's hard. I think some of it is just, human, but it can be unhealthy. And touching in. Like, even I'm going to compete this year. And I'm like, I know in my heart I'm doing this for me.
Mm-hmm.
And if at any point it's not working for me, I'll step out. But always checking in is important.
Yeah.
But yeah, learning true self-esteem. And
Still
how do you
working
do
on.
that? I think, yeah, it's a process.
I know. I keep seeing my daughter. Like, I have a 2-year-old daughter, and I'm like, she looks herself in the mirror and she blows herself kisses and she gives herself high fives. And I don't ever want her to stop doing that. Like,
Yeah.
I want her to be her own best friend. And that's what, to me, confidence is like, just cheering myself on and saying, you're doing great. Keep fucking going. Like, high five yourself in the mirror, Mel Robbins. Her high fives. I do that. It is very cheesy. I listen to the cheesiest music too. That's like, I'm amazing. I'm so awesome. I mean, not to call his music cheesy. It's actually kind of good, I think. But like on days when you just feel that heaviness and like pressing down. I just put them on and I'm like, okay, lift yourself up and be your own best friend and coach who's like, I got you.
Sometimes I'll say to myself, I'm like, anxiety, we're not hanging out today. Because I'm like, not today, anxiety. We should put that on. I was like, if I can go into my logical brain, I can work through emotions much faster, which is why I like that don't be so obsessed with yourself. But also like, okay, I could be anxious all day and worrying and insecure, but who's that helping?
Yeah.
And again, as a woman, me being insecure, that's only helping industries that don't need help and encouraging other women to do that. So I really try with my clients, with younger women, to never speak negatively about myself. With my son, my goal is that he's so confident in himself, but he also knows he has a safe place to go to with me. Because I feel like I walked through the world feeling like naked and afraid, just like so vulnerable because I didn't have a lot of security.
Yeah.
And so I've had to build my own families and chosen families and to create that. But I want him just to be able to walk through the world leading with kindness and love, but being comfortable in himself and feeling safe and also knowing he can always come home to mama.
Yeah. You just reminded me. I don't know if this fits, but yesterday we were at the park and this little girl ran up and she was like, do you want to be my friend? And like got right in her face. And I was like, oh my God, the confidence of this girl. Like, I love it. And I would be like, yeah, sure. I'll play with you even if I didn't want to. My daughter goes, no. And I was like, oh God.
Kids have no filter.
It hurts. Like, but the girl also would just have this confidence where she was like, want to play now? And then she's like, not really, you know? It's like both of their confidence just in these little tiny bodies in different ways, you know? And I'm like, how beautiful.
Because I protect that, you know? Because it's true. Like, don't you wish you could kind of say to someone like, I don't want to be your friend?
Yes, or I don't want to do that. I'm like, I called Jackie, my friend, whenever I need to say no. I'm like, Jackie, I really don't want to do this. Just say no. I'm like, oh, I can do that? Okay.
My goal, I have a sentence, it's my goal to learn how to say this, and I've yet to ever say it, but it goes, you're making me uncomfortable.
Please say that to me.
I've never said it. This is mostly for like men in public. But for anyone, you know, if someone even says something super inappropriate to you, or like, so I've noticed, like, you know, when I was younger and like a man made me uncomfortable or said something inappropriate, I'd be like, ha. And now I have this weird thing, I just go blank because I know it's wrong, but I don't have the words yet. So I'm just like, and I walk away.
Deer in headlights.
But my goal is that anyone that, you know, says something inappropriate to speak that.
Yeah. I'm there when you say it. Me too. Just start laughing. You're making her uncomfortable. Stop.
Or even say to someone, that's inappropriate.
Yeah.
Why would you ask that? I have a lot of things I'm working towards. But so far, freeze and walk away is progress versus laughing and smiling and trying to make the person feel good, even though they're making me feel bad.
It's true. Like that.
Because that's what we want our kids to do too, right? And that's, I think, as a mom too, there's that extra pressure. Like, okay, what am I showing my child?
Yeah, not to be. Yeah, I definitely push the people pleasing because that's like natural. You're like, just be nice and say yes and this and that. But
Or even with the sharing, we talked about this. Like, it's actually healthy for kids to not want to share, and we force it on them, and that apparently can encourage people pleasing. And I think there's a line with everything. I hate hard parenting rules, so I try and, if it's a situation where it makes sense, be like, why don't you take turns? But not be like, this is yours. We were at the park the other day and he had a lollipop when this little girl came up and he goes, my lollipop. And I was like, that's fair. Yeah. I'm glad you're not sharing that with a stranger. I'm not even going to say anything. She like did it to 2 other kids too and looked at his lollipop. And I was like, you don't have to share.
yeah, it's a balance.
Yeah.
It's all a balance. They have to be able to say no too. That's why I'm like, my instinct was to be like, go play with that little girl. She wants to play with you. But I was like, I had to be like, she knows what she wants and she doesn't want to do it.
Yeah.
Why would I force her to do something else?
I think that's one of my only regrets when I look back on my younger years, because I did a lot of great things, but the amount of times I put my own well-being aside to make someone else comfortable.
I'm like, I've never done that to me.
Even like socially, this is the big thing for me. I used to drink way too much because I was so uncomfortable and I was always worrying what everyone thought. And it took me a long time to work through that. And these days I often will go to an event and not drink. And to even like, I'll still be like, oh, what if people are annoyed I'm not drinking or whatever?
You're like, don't be so obsessed with yourself.
They're like, don't be so obsessed with yourself. No one cares. Actually, I went through this phase. I didn't drink for like a whole year. And I was so nervous that I was really boring. That was my big fear. And a good friend of mine, she's like, I just want to tell you, I've enjoyed talking to you so much more lately. You're so present and I can tell you're really listening. And I was like, oh my God. And I also realized if you're worried about being quiet and boring, people like being listened to. We're all obsessed with ourselves.
Everybody wants to be listened to. It's true.
Right?
Yeah.
So let that go. If that is a fear of yours, I've learned you can be totally quiet and people have a great time if you're like, yeah.
Yeah. I'm listening. I hear
smiling on it.
Especially moms who are trapped with their children all day. Just want to be heard.
We all want to be heard. We all want to be seen and heard.
Yeah.
New cookie dough.
Okay. Are you going to get any of this cookie dough? I'm going to eat it all. I really like this because, usually she makes balls, jelly balls, but this time it's dough. And what's nice about this is I have something to do with my hands while you're talking. And all my nervousness, I can just sit here and like create little tiny balls like Play-Doh.
I love that. Yeah, it's good for people. We're both very ADHD, undiagnosed ADHD, but little fidget things are really healthy for your brain.
You probably bring those if we don't have this. Just like flipping this fidget.
You should do one where just roll the whole time.
I'm fine. What else were we talking about, Jillian? By the way, my list for things for us to talk about is like 3 pages long at this point.
I'm not gonna lie, I looked briefly.
You're like, these are great, Danielle.
I'm ADHD type of like very last minute.
Yeah, I can tell by this session today.
And I don't know why, like I get this feel out of going to something unplanned.
Like,
so I apologize. Like,
what? Where's this going?
Also, this is important to talk about.
Yeah,
because so many people, when stressed and anxious, eat enough, and that only exacerbates the problem. So I made this. It's kind of eat with them. It's basically pea protein, nut butter, maple syrup, chocolate, almond bar. So you get protein, carbs, fat, and balances your blood sugar, and it tastes like cookie dough. It's super easy to eat. I created it. I'm really bad for nutrition, and I knew I need calories because I've learned over the years before my eating disorder the cost of not eating enough, which is a really heavy cost because it can affect you physically, mentally, and affect you for years to come. So I always make sure I eat enough, and it's a lifesaver. Kids love it. Kids love it. You can just eat all day. If you're not really hungry, it does. This gives you that little bit of nourishment.
You can switch peanut butter, cashew butter, sunflower butter.
I make all the varieties. People ask questions here.
They can. Wonder if the question where we go or share anything.
Yeah.
That was maybe a value.
I never want to claim to be an expert either.
It's valuable.
Like on podcasts run by men, they're the expert on everything. And I tend that. So I hope it's clear that we're just talking.
I mean, I will say we are experts in the fitness realm. I have been in the fitness world since my 20s. I started as a yoga teacher and then became a personal trainer, massage therapist. And so, yeah, when it comes to like working with the body and mental health within the realm of those modalities, definitely an expert.
We are experts.
And then
thank you for the confidence.
Yes. I'm like, hold on, not an expert in politics, not an expert in how to do the right things. And definitely, we're my mom. We're entrepreneurs.
But we're very
I'm mom
honest.
Yeah.
We're honest and empathetic, and that's what we're going from. Because again, I think those voices are needed too.
And also, she's an expert in nutrition, which is food tips
and night eating syndrome.
Yes. Okay. I don't see any questions.
I just did air guns. Everyone's like, we're canceled.
I did peace signs, like drinking water. Hold this moment. Okay. All right. We're going to end. There's a button.
Thanks for joining.
Thank you for being here.